Chapter 2, Stupid Sneakers. My stomach was turning over, but I still needed to finish cleaning my room before Mom came to inspect, or at least get everything under the bed so she wouldn't see it. I gathered up a bunch of pencils lying on the floor and opened the drawer of my desk to put them away. The drawer was a mess, too. When I was pushing things back to make room for the pencils, I saw the old markers I'd used last year. Maybe it would have been better if I'd stayed in third grade. Getting Mrs. Burke for the fourth grade was the worst thing that could have happened to me. First of all, she's a neat freak. Matt didn't have Mrs. Burke for fourth grade, but he told me the kids in her class were always talked about her. Everything and everyone in her class had to be really super neat and organized. Neat desks, neat notebooks, neat homework, everything. It was hard enough for me last year with Mr. Romano. He's one of the school's nicest teachers, and even he always said my desk was a wreck. I was sure I wouldn't last a day in Mrs. Burke's class. Second of all, she's really tall, so she can see everything. Her head is up so high it's like a lookout tower. She can spot a kid horsing around anywhere on the playground or in the cafeteria in 2 seconds flat. And when she catches you doing something she doesn't like, she has this scary way of snapping her fingers at you. Pow! Like a firecracker going off. But the biggest reason I absolutely could not have Mrs. Burke as my fourth grade teacher was this. She hates me. Something happened one day last year, a complete accident, and ever since then, Mrs. Burke has been watching me like a hungry hawk looking for a mouse to eat. And I was the mouse. There was only one way to save my life. I had to get out of Mrs. Burke's class. I didn't care if she was teacher of the century. I knew that sometimes kids transferred to other classes, and that's what I needed to do. Maybe I could get moved to Mrs. Ladislawski's class. Everyone calls her Mrs. L because her last name is so hard to pronounce. She's funny and friendly. That's who Matt had for fourth grade, and he says she's the best teacher in the school. Or maybe Miss Lewis, who was the new last year and brought her dog to school one day and it threw up on Mrs. Rotelli's rug. Mrs. Rotelli is our principal. You'd think a teacher would have lost her job when her dog threw up on the principal's rug, but she didn't. I'd even be happy to have our school custodian, Mr. Turchin, for fourth grade. Anyone but Mrs. Burke. I was thinking all these things when my mom came in my room. She walked over and looked at my closet. Good job, Charlie, she said. You see, you can keep things neat. I nodded and hoped she wouldn't look under the bed. You're going to have a great school year, she said. Mom was wrong. She didn't know about Mrs. Burke. On Saturday, Mom took the three of us to the mall to buy new clothes and school supplies. I knew this was probably my last chance to try and save my life. Matt was in the front seat. I was in the back seat with the squid. My dad calls her Squirt, but I think squid is funnier. Mom, I asked from the back seat in my best polite voice, can you please call Mrs. Ratelli and ask her to transfer me to another class? What? She frowned and gave me a look in the rearview mirror. You know, switch me to another class. I know what transfer means, Charlie. Why on earth would you ask me to do that? Because I really need you to, I said. Don't be ridiculous, Charlie, she said. I'm not being ridiculous. I can't have Mrs. Burke. I'll die if I have her. No one has ever died because of who their fourth grade teacher was, Mom said. Charlie might. Matt smiled back at me from the front seat. If I could have reached him without taking off my seatbelt, I would have punched him. I'm glad I didn't, though, because if I had, he might have told Mom the real reason I didn't want Mrs. Burke. What do you think you'll die of? Mom asked. Um, I, well, I think I might be allergic to her. You can't be allergic to a person, the squid said, like she was some sort of expert on the topic. It might be her perfume or something, I said. She smells horrible and I'll choke to death if I have to be in her class. I doubt that very much, Mom said. Mom, please, I begged. I am not calling your principal just because you didn't get the teacher you want. Anyway, you haven't even met her yet. I have too, I said. I saw her in the cafeteria and the halls all the time last year. She's really scary. When she snaps her fingers, it sounds just like fireworks going off. Matt was grinning back at me, but at least he was keeping his mouth shut. Don't worry, Charlie, my mom said as she turned into the mall parking lot. When you get to know her, things will be fine. I think you're lucky to have her. After all, she was Teacher of the Year. Dictator of the Year, I mumbled. Matt butted in. You'll have to be in a play, Charlie. Her class does one every year. You'll probably have to be a bunny or something. I don't want to be a bunny, I said. I don't want to be in a dumb play. I'd love to be a bunny, the squid said. Okay, okay. That's enough about Mrs. Burke, Mom said as we climbed out of the car. Let's go get our shopping done, and I don't want any arguing like last year. I didn't say anything else because moms don't understand, little sisters don't know, and big brothers are bozos. I find the word bozo very useful when I have to describe someone, like my brother Matt, who is a bozo. I'm sorry, but we're out of this style in black, the man in the shoe store said, holding out a box. But I have your size in white. I had picked out some really cool black sneakers with red soles that were on display in the window. No, thanks, I said. I only want the black ones. Charlie, these are the exact same kind, but they're white, Mom said. I could see they were white. I know, but I want the black ones, I said. Mom shook her head. We've looked all over the mall for shoes for you, and these are going to have to do. You had white ones last year, and they were fine. No, they weren't, I said. But Mom paid the man, handed me the shoe bag, and herded us all towards the mall exit. All I could think about were my best friend Tommy's great new sneakers. They were all black, even the laces. On the way back to the car, my sister chanted in a voice low enough that Mom couldn't hear. I got blue shoes. I got blue shoes. Mom, I said when we got in the car, can't we try another mall? I really wanted black ones like Tommy's. I hate white sneakers. They're so stupid. Please don't use that word. Mom hates it when we say stupid. Sometimes, though, stupid is the only word that fits, like when you're talking about stupid white sneakers. Mom pulled out of the parking lot. I don't blame you, Charlie, Mom said. White sneakers are dorky. Everyone's going to make fun of you. Matt, stop it, Mom said. Matt shrugged. Okay, but I really do feel bad for Charlie. Those sneakers are just about the dorkiest. Shut up, I said. Charlie. Mom was using her I mean it voice. We aren't supposed to say shut up either. Matt twisted around so Mom couldn't see his face and gave me his evil older brother smile. Too bad I'll be in middle school this year, he said. I won't be there to protect you when people make fun of your shoes. I stared at him and mouthed the words, Shut up, stupid. Then I gave up and stared out the side window. In a way, Matt was right. It was too bad he wouldn't be at my school anymore. Even though he bugged me at home until I wanted to scream, he'd always looked after me on the bus or in the hallways at school, and his friends would always wave and say hi to me. Now, none of them would be at King Philip Elementary. I would be stuck there alone with Mrs. Burke and my stupid white sneakers.